What's up, guys? It's Wolfgang back with another Dorkfish review, and today we are going to look at the Mezco 112 scale, the Batman. Guys, let's get into it. Starring Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves' The Batman was a smash hit that has led to a TV spinoff and a sequel in development, but the question is the figure as good as the film? And I don't know. It's a decent figure, but I don't think it is a home run. And we're going to get into why, starting, as always, with the box and accessories. As far as the box goes, it is one of the smaller ones. I think Mezco has done away with the taller windowed boxes. So there's not a lot to it other than you've got the front. Batman on the front looks good. You've got that on the side. Looks good. And then on the back, you've got the figure and accessories. Let me just angle that a little. So yeah, and you got some product shots. Other than that, that's all there is to the box. Pretty straightforward. So now let's check out everything that comes in the box. Now, going into accessories, he's got two different trays. The one, the main figure, and most of the accessories sit in, and then the bottom tray. The bottom tray has the stand, the bag, and it's also got a spot for this right here, the Bat Glider suit. And it looks pretty good. Let me get that in focus right quick. There we go. And did a good job with that. You can get it on and off the figure. I may show it on the figure later. I'm not certain. But also that bottom tray comes with these accessories here. And because they're so small, it's so easy to lose, I'm going to avoid taking them out of the plastic to start. Just to be honest, it's a pain. But you've got 4 batarangs, 2 adrenaline shots, 3 sticky bombs, and both versions of the hook, you've got 2 separate spikes that go in that's supposed to turn into the grapple hook, and the actual grapple hook with line. That is all for the bottom tray. For the main tray, his main accessories, he's got a few different things. This tray has the grapnel hook gun that goes on his wrist, 3 extended versions, 2 short versions, his gas bomb gun, the light, his torch, and his handcuffs. He comes with an array of heads and hands. The head that you see on him currently, as well as the fist hands, are the ones that come on him in package. But he has some other hands, left and right, such as your grapnel gun hand. Get that into focus. My camera does not want to go into focus for some reason. Let's see here. A grabbing hand here. Very well done. I like to distinguish between the shiny knuckles and the matte on the rest of the glove. Good job there. You get this kind of pointing or gesturing hand. Same for that hand side. You get another gripping hand. Another gripping hand looks like for a grapnel gun. Although those peg to the wrist, you get a little more of a relaxed or stylized hand there. A much more relaxed or stylized hand there. You get these, which are currently holding batarangs. The batarangs are attached. Very well painted. You get that left and right. So let me show you here. Very well done. And then you get the electrical or stunning hand from early on in the film when he's fighting that Joker-esque gang. And that's it for the hands. You get his bat cowl, which you can put up or prop up somewhere, would look nice. And then you get 3 additional heads besides the one on him. So you get this one here. Let me just pop my hand in there so you can see that. Boom. Looks good. Eyes are well done. kind of gesturing or talking, kind of looking off to the side. You get a little more of a menacing or scowl head here. Also nicely done. And then you get a Robert Pattinson head. And I like that they kept the makeup around the eyes. It's something that's always bothered me in the other Batman films. He always has makeup around his eyes, and it always comes off, and I don't know why. They never show him taking it off. So this movie addresses that. And that is all the accessories that come with him. And it comes with a pretty decent spread. Going back and rewatching the film before doing this review to make sure that I knew what I was talking about and what each item was, there's not a lot more from the film I would love to have, except for maybe some Riddler props as far as like some of the riddles that were left for Batman, or just envelopes that say to Batman, something like that. I think would have really set this off. But otherwise, accessory-wise, I think he's good. So now the question is, how does he articulate? I know I said I was going into articulation, but I actually normally go into aesthetics first, so my apologies, but we are going to talk about aesthetics right quick. And aesthetically speaking, I think he looks pretty good, all things considering. Fantastically done. The armor's got some nice wear and tear on it. Everything looks pretty spot on. I know some people had concerns with like the orange on the boots and the straps, but that is actually accurate. It's just that the final tone of the film, the final color grade, if you will, kind of nullifies that. But it is accurate. That being said, looks good. The cape looks good. I am kind of I'm pleased with how well it turned out. I'm shocked that the cape is a little thinner than I expected. Most other Batman capes are much heavier, and this one being wired and being so light, you can get some stuff out of it. But again, I think they kind of missed the mark somewhat on that wiring. It doesn't clamp down in, so it kind of gives you that dangle effect. And it didn't wire throughout the back or across the bottom, so you can only do so much with it. But we'll show that off in articulation. As far as the face goes, let's bring that in. Ooh, right there. And that face looks, I think, fantastic. Spot on. The way they did the detail on the armor, great. The belt, fantastic. And all the way around. So they actually got the detail in the suit. Ooh, let me just bring that out there. They got the detail in the suit all the way around, which I like. I really enjoyed that they did that. They didn't have to because the cape would cover it, but they decided to, and it looks great for it. So I appreciate that. My biggest problem aesthetically is his neck. It's slightly too short. It's pretty close to probably what it should be, but his cowl actually in the film comes up. You can see here on his neck where that comes up there. It actually would come up a little higher in the film, closer to the base of the neck where the skull meets. And I know that they, for articulation reasons, wanted to keep it a little shorter, but the way they did the neck, because this doesn't come up higher on it, it makes his neck look squatty. They should have done more to protrude either the collar or the neck itself, because he looks like he has no neck. So that's the one big aesthetic thing I'm really not pleased with. Otherwise, I do think, for the most part, he's pretty well done. He's pretty spot on. I know I saw some people that weren't happy with how high up these parts of the boots were, but the boot covers in the film actually are about that high up. I went back and had to look at it a couple of different times to make sure, but the boot covers are pretty high up. They don't go down to where the usual ankle covering would be on a boot cover like that. So that is pretty accurate. I would say all in all, they did a really good job of capturing exactly how he looks. You can bring this back and you can get it underneath the shoulders. You can get those pads out and it looks great, except for just how squatty the head kind of feels. Otherwise, I think they captured him. Now, all that being said, where the figure really suffers is in the next part, and that is articulation. And for articulation, this figure has a double ball joint neck and head, so he can look up that far. The collar kind of cuts off there. He can look down about that far. He can turn, for the most part, and move around somewhat, but he's somewhat hindered. And I know a lot of it has to do with the collar. And if the collar was right, like the film was, I wouldn't complain as much because he didn't really move his head around as much as like a Christian Bale did in The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. But all that being said, you get good enough articulation out of it. His cape, like we talked about, is bendy wire all the way up and all the way down, except for in the slot. It doesn't make it in the slot, and it doesn't articulate anywhere else. So do what you will with that. His shoulders. So these are not caught up in here. These actually are attached to the bicep piece there. So you can move them, slide them just a touch. So you can get that shoulder up. Get a decent enough T-pose out of it. Got some slack in there on that. There, you can get his fist up about that far. So not very far, unfortunately. He's got a bicep swivel. He's got double jointed elbows, which go about that far there. The regular pin and hinge wrist. As far as articulation of the abs, this is a really thick and heavy piece. So you get some, but not a lot. So he's not going very far back. He's not going very far forward. And there's a little bit of twist, but not a lot. Not as much as we've seen in other releases. And I'm kind of torn because it's Batman, so he needs a good deal of articulation. But at the same time, the suit that he wears in the film doesn't completely allow him to move the same way you would see Ben Affleck's Batman move, right? So it's kind of an in-between. It's okay, just not great. So his legs, you've got this belt attached here for this one, for his holster. So you can't really, you can do some, but not a lot with that. As far as kick out goes, this side kicks out decent enough. You get a decent side to side with him, so you can do a good little side kick there. As far as up goes, not a lot. Really not a lot, unfortunately. You've got your thigh swivel, which moves pretty good. You've got your knee. Let me just reset that pad. You've got your double knee joint, which can kick up pretty far. You've got your boot, swivel, and then you've got your ankle articulation, so it goes down that far, up that far, moves fine, ankle rocker. So you can see it just kind of slightly, but not a lot. So there is still, for all of the nice aesthetics of him, there's still a lot of issues articulation-wise. He doesn't quite do it for me how he should. I don't think he really quite meets the mark for articulation, and that is a bit frustrating. I think right here, that pose, he cuts a decent and imposing pose. He has a nice silhouette about him. I think overall, aesthetically, he's nice. He's accurate for the most part, but he is not as posable as I would have liked, and I think he completely should be. So, yeah, it's rough. It's still fine, but fine shouldn't cut it with Mezco prices at Mezco style. So, yeah, just be wary of that. You're going to have a decent-looking figure, but not a very articulated one. Now, that being said, let's just see how he scales against other figures and lines. Here we have Matt Reeves, the Batman, next to Mezco's 1/12 scale Jim Gordon from the comics. Not horrible. Here we have him next to a G.I. Joe classified police officer. I think they look pretty decent together, side by side. Here we have him next to a Marvel Legends Professor Xavier. Not bad scaling there. Batman is pretty imposing overall over Charles Xavier. And here we have him next to my favorite of the Mezco Batmans, the Silver Knight Batman. And he is a touch bigger. Again, the proportioning is kind of throwing me off when you look at the Silver Knight Batman and then you look at this Batman. He's just got no neck. His shoulders are shrugged up too far. It's a little distracting on camera. All right, and final thoughts. I have had some fun with this figure. I am not going to tell you don't buy him. I am going to warn you that there are caveats to having him. I think he looks great in certain ways. Like this pose right here looks pretty good. With that head, the way it's set up, I like. There are other poses that are really squatty. Maybe it's meant for him to look like he's intimidating or shrugging up on somebody, but the reality is it makes him look really squatty in areas. And articulation is just not that good for him overall. He's a good figure in terms of if you like the Batman movie or if you are just a Batman action figure collector, I suggest him. If you are not specifically a fan of this movie or just a huge, wide Batman collector, I don't know that I can recommend this figure for the price point. So that's my personal opinion. I've got him. I'm happy with him, but I am a Batman collector. I love Batman, so I was happy to get a hold of him. But with all that being said, I am going to bring this review to an end. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching the video. If you got to this point, do comment down below your favorite live-action Batman actor. With that being said, Wolfgang's out. Later, guys.